Yeah, 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 yeah.
Let's make your fucking beats.
I'm about my game. Live by the rules, we don't play the same. That's on my grave, that's on my name. I'm saying, I'm about my paper, about my game. I'm about my game.
What is up, everybody? This is Thomas Christopher of the League Winners. We are here for another episode of College Football Now. I apologize, I look a little dark. Let's see if we can brighten that up a little bit. A little dark light, but I got a nice little halo sign. If you guys can see that on screen, I do appreciate everyone for tuning in. Obviously, this is a live show. Wouldn't keep that in the edits, I'll tell you that. So make sure you're clicking that like button. Completely free to do so. Make sure if you comment, this is a live show, like I just said. So we will get to all comments within 24 or 48 hours if the show ends. If you comment while we're still live, we will get to you right on the spot. College football, NFL draft, you name it. Me and the guys and gals that are on this show will answer it for you. If you're watching on X/Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, make sure to click that like button. If you're on YouTube, make sure to click that subscribe button. We're going to be dropping an interview with head coach Zach Hilly, and we're going to be starting to drop a lot more of our interviews on there as well going forward. You can find us on Instagram at The League Winners, all one word. Make sure to hit that share button if you're on X/Twitter or on Facebook as well. So your friends and family, if anybody likes sports and college football in particular, they will enjoy this podcast. This is more of a show than a podcast. I mean, a little amateurish the way I set it up, but we'll call it a show. So if you're your first time watching, we bring in beat reporters, on-site reporters, from around the nation. Usually we have a set list of schedule. We will be bringing on a bunch of new faces this summer, so stay tuned for that. We'll talk college football, we'll talk NFL, we'll talk football in general, some recruiting stuff as well. Shout out to the guys in Florida for that. And we also bring on people from our own company ourselves to make sure that we can try to give you guys some of the best coverage in college football right now. So with that being said, a lot of stuff has been happening. Spring games, spring practices, spring football is wrapping up. I was just at the Syracuse Spring Football Game. I know FIU has had theirs, as has a litany of other schools. And we got a lot more coming up. Delaware's having more of a open practice than a spring game. That is this Saturday. Florida Atlantic's going to be having one on 17th for teams that we do cover. And USF is going to be having theirs on Sunday. So I do want to... We're going to go through a list because there's been a lot of stuff we've missed in terms of spring games, a lot of news, obviously the Diana Rossini stuff. You just don't like to see that happen. The president had an executive order drop about players and their eligibilities going forward in college football with the 5 years. We're going to be talking to Dan Tortora and Shane Barrett about that later on, and we'll probably talk with Brandyn Mackenzie a little bit about that too. And just a lot of stuff has been going on, man. The NCAA also has allowed high school athletes to now officially have representation as they negotiate with schools for recruiting. Not that doesn't already happen now, but now it's just going to be a lot more. It's out in the open, which is, I think that's one of the few right steps that the NCAA has taken so far. They've made a couple mistakes that I'm not particularly a fan of, the way that they've handled certain things throughout their time. The NCAA does have its own issues in and of itself, but seeing them finally, admit, hey, a lot of these athletes are already having agents, maintaining eligibility and all of that nature, I think that's important. It's also important and just shows that some of these guys and gals just going forward will have to have better voices in their back, right? A lot better people supporting them going forward too, because there's a lot of bad actors. There's a lot of agents that don't necessarily have the best interests of the players and athletes at heart. So they have to, and this is what's so dangerous, right? Because we have high school and college football athletes that are focusing on their sport, and they have to navigate not just the sport now, but, they have to try to vet the agent as best as they can. And a lot of agents are making a lot more money than they should. We have NIL agents too, which are a completely different thing, but also intertwined in a lot of ways. and we have, obviously, as they continue to grow, because this is the tricky thing, some college agents aren't NFL credentialed agents. So, which is a whole other thing in and of itself. Obviously, a lot of NIL guys, agents, are not qualified NFL agents either. So it's just something that we like to keep an eye on as kids start to go through that process. So we'll actually be talking a little bit about that today as well. We'll be talking about Syracuse Spring Game that me and Dan Tortora were at. We'll talk the FIU Spring Game with Brandyn Pokrass as well. And him and Mackenzie Neglia are going to be on later. We're going to talk Florida Atlantic, and then we're going to talk USF because they'll be at those events, which I shout out to them. I'll be at Delaware this weekend, and then probably Albany the weekend following that. And we'll have a couple other people that will come on this week, next week, and at the end of the month, kind of recapping some of the bigger spring games from the schools that we cover and some schools that we have a lot of interest in, focusing more American Conference, ACC stuff, but we will get into some SEC, some Big 10, Big 12, and the rest of the non-autonomy schools and conferences as well. We like to kind of hit a little bit of it all. So before we go that, I do want to bring up some of these spring games because there's still a lot left. And a lot of them have, a lot of interesting, let me just see if I can share the screen here. A lot of them have a lot of interesting dynamics of what can happen. Obviously, the closest ones coming up. Let's see if everybody can see this screen. I'm going to back myself out here so everybody can see more clearly. We have Morgan State, Jack State, Samford. Probably nothing that anybody's really paying too much attention about. Jack State is one I would keep an eye on, though. It's always just a promising program. And then we have this Friday, April 17th, Georgia State. They're going to be looking to bounce back. Towson's not a bad program. Bethune-Cookman, the HBCU. We have Holy Cross that's brought in a lot of players, especially with Bob Chesney at JMU. When he was the coach there, he brought in some guys from Holy Cross, Matthew Sluka, a notable one. We have Louisville. That's a great one to see who kind of takes over as that program continues to adjust. Princeton is another interesting one. They've been a good program over there in the Ivy League. Army is also this Friday on the 17th, but for those who aren't aware, we do cover academy schools, Army and Navy programs, and unfortunately, they're not allowing anybody on the bases because of the current war with Iran. So we're hoping that changes soon so we can be able to provide you guys better coverage. We do have some interviews already in place with some Naval Academy players, though, so make sure you guys check that out on our Instagram and on our Twitter at the League Winners on Instagram, League Winners FB on Twitter. Now, Eastern Michigan, that's another interesting program, but we have the Florida Atlantic, like we mentioned before, Villanova, which hasn't been terrible in the FCS. We have Merrimack, who's not bad, PVAMU, Southern Illinois, Texas Tech, which is an interesting one. I'm very curious to see how that goes. UT Martin, Murray State, SMU, which I'm fascinated to see how that goes, and Cal Poly as well. So keep an eye on some of those. If we had to highlight some of these schools here in terms of importance for just if we're talking just regular college football, or if we're talking just interest from a competition level, the teams that I would be paying attention to here are Louisville. I pay attention to Princeton if you're into non-autonomy programs, they're very interesting to look at. Army is always competitive within the American Conference. They've been a bowl team the last 2 years. They won the conference last year, in 2024 to 2025. Florida Atlantic year 2 under head coach Zach Kitley. This is another very interesting team. They have a lot of retention with Caden Veldkamp and Easton Messer. Though, keep an eye on those two. They're going to be really lighting up the American this season. I truly believe it. And then Texas Tech is probably the other program on Friday that I'll be keeping an eye on, as well as SMU. I want to see how Kevin Jennings does, with another year under his belt against FBS talent. Well, not that he hasn't had it already, playing in the American prior to that and this past year in the ACC, but just getting that experience again. It's not just him too, right? It's everybody on the football team in and of itself. So those are the Friday games that we're paying attention to right now. We'll take a look. Let me just back up if I can back. There we go. And we'll go down into this Saturday, April 18th. We have Charlotte, which is just strictly a practice. Lehigh, Missouri State, Ohio, Stonehill. Tulane is a very interesting one. Keep an eye on that. Obviously, new head coach, new quarterback, a lot of new things happening in Tulane in a conference that they've kind of been dominating in the American. We have obviously the Miami Hurricanes. HCU, Houston is another interesting one. Houston's been a consistently good team in the Big 12. I mean, let's just be honest. And they've been consistent for a bit now. Kentucky, UAB is another. I guess we could call UAB a little interesting because they do have a new head coach, new quarterback as well. So that'll be fascinating. Keep an eye on UAB, although that's a name for sleep. I mean, this is for more football diehards, if we're being honest. No, not a lot of not your average fan is paying attention to UAB football. Yale's another one that I like. I mean, I'm sorry, just Youngstown State, South Dakota State's brought in a couple guys in the league lately. Can pay attention to that. Butler, Cincinnati is another program that people need to stop sleeping on. Cincinnati has another one that's performing well. In their conference, I mean, let's just be honest. No, I don't think too many people expected them to perform the way that they did this past year. Fordham, Hampton, we got Michigan State and Ohio State and Texas. Those are big, 3 very big games. We'll put the screen back on full screen so y'all can see. Michigan State, I want to keep an eye on because they got a lot new faces coming in. Ohio State, I want to see how they handle things. Obviously after losing Brian Hartline, he's now the head coach at USF. Texas, obviously Arch Manning, and we just want to see how that performs. Toledo is a sleeper one that I'm looking at too because they did lose defensive coordinators now at Syracuse, and they have a lot of new faces as well. We have UTEP, West Virginia, which is always a fascinating team to keep an eye on. Appalachian State, Ball State, Chattanooga, Davidson, Duquesne. East Carolina, this is a sleeper team, man. East Carolina is a sleeper team in the American. They're just consistently good. And they're bringing in talent. Yes, they've lost a lot of stuff. They lost a quarterback. Obviously, a lot of money was thrown at him. But especially if we hear Mr. Beast, maybe he wants to help out ECU, starts feeding them some money for NIL. That could be very fascinating. So pay attention to that. Georgia Tech, those are obviously very important spring games. Those are 2 great schools and programs. North Texas, I mean, this is a program that you want to keep an eye on because, again, at the top of the American this past year, lost the head coach, lost a lot of pieces. So saying who develops out of here could be interesting. Oklahoma, obviously, is another program with Mateer, seeing how that progresses. We have Southern Miss, UC Davis, not a bad team. I believe they're in the Mountain West this year, if I'm not mistaken. And they've just been a consistently good FCS program up until this point. Then we have Liberty, Wake Forest, that nobody predicted Wake Forest was going to perform as well as they did in 2025. The players took offense to it. They outperformed. Now they brought in some new pieces. The head coach over there can finally have his time to build what he wants year 2. Very fascinating to see what they do. Obviously, we know Duke lost their quarterback to Miami this offseason, and seeing how that works will be fascinating. Michigan's always another one. A lot of new head coach now after the Sharon Moore scandal, so that'll be interesting. ODU is another good program in the non-autonomy conferences. We have Texas A&M. They're just consistently a good SEC school. We have Troy, Utah State, Vanderbilt, which I'm fascinated to see. We have Auburn. We'll talk some Auburn football later with Shane Barrett. Obviously, head coach Alex Golesh is over there now. Byron Brown. A lot of USF players made the switch and jump over. Grambling State, HBCU. We have Virginia Tech, which I'm very fascinated to see how that is now because they have a new head coach, James Franklin, over at Virginia Tech, and they retained the coach Brent, who was the head coach there, and now he's the DC there because he was the DC under Franklin prior. So I love that, honestly. I'm not going to lie to you. I love that. I'm expecting big things from Virginia Tech in 2026. And then we'll talk New Haven, just University of Virginia. That was a very big sleeper team, 2025. obviously played but lost to Duke in the ACC championship game. I'm very fascinated to see how that one goes. We have the University of California. And this is another one, new head coach comes in from Oregon. Going to see how that performs. We have Jaron Kawhi Sungapotele. He is a freshman phenom last year. Now he goes year 2. They were able to retain them. They did lose a couple key guys, though, especially on the defense. So I'm fascinated to see how that develops this year as well. We have Howard Lindenwood. Lindenwood has created some producers at NFL prospect kind of level guys. Memphis, another program, like I said, head coach, jump ship, new head coach. Fascinated to see them perform. We have San Jose State, Southern Utah, East Texas A&M, Oklahoma State. And this is one people need to have circled. Excuse me. Because obviously they have the new head coach, new quarterback that came in from North Texas, Drew Mastermaker. I believe they brought in the running back and his wide receiver as well. And that's a dynamic trio. Just on that face alone, dynamic trio. Big 12 is pretty open for them to compete right away. So it'll be very fascinating how that looks and acts. I can't wait to see that. To be honest, I can't wait to see Mastermaker in a power conference and facing high-level competition. Continuing down to Saturday, we have Presbyterian, Utah, which is just a fan day. A lot of programs are now doing more fan day-esque stuff than actual spring games. Southeast Missouri, SEMO, that's another program that brings NFL talent to the forefront. Like they have NFL talent there. They do recruit it. Keep an eye on them if you're interested. Utah Tech, Campbell, Delaware. They are not having a spring game, Delaware. They are having an extended, quote-unquote, open practice. Nichols, San Diego, and then UIW round out Saturday. And then Sunday, we have USF. We'll have Brandyn Pokrass and Mackenzie Neglia at that spring game. And then I'll just do the last one Tuesday before we go to next week, and then we'll talk about next week. Then we have Central Michigan. Shout out to them as well. They bring a lot of great players too. They just have a lot of these programs. This is the thing; like they don't necessarily have to be autonomy power conferences to bring NFL talent to create NFL talent rather than to recruit NFL talent. There's plenty of players from the group of 6, the non-autonomy programs, whatever you call them, that bring in a lot of talent. But those are the spring games coming up and that we've been talking about. Like I said, we'll talk Syracuse one in a bit. Oh, I didn't even notice that I had my next guest in the green room. He looks like he's having some fun there. I'm assuming some type of technical issue on his end. Let me just stop sharing that. We'll bring it in. You love him. You know him. It is VP of the League Winners, Brandyn Pokrass. Brandyn, I can't even hear you. And he can't hear me. Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, we're going to pull him out. He's having some technical issues, as you can see. He's roughing it, helping out. That's dedication, though. If you're gonna say anything, that is the type of dedication that I would love to see more reporters and just people do. We've seen our good friend. We've seen our good friend Robbie Listella of the show do that in his car, even in the middle of games when he's doing it or the Wi-Fi isn't working. Now we see Brandyn do that. You gotta love that stuff, man. I know we've seen Eric Harapian, who does UCLA stuff for us. Shout out to Eric. He's done that as well. Cody Henderson, who does a lot of West Coast stuff for us. Shout out to Cody. He has done that in the past too. We got to get him back on as well. So while we wait for BPOC to get back on, normally, if you watch this show, make sure you hit that like button. First of all, it's completely free to do so. It helps the channel out. If you like college football content, hit that subscribe button or follow us on X/Twitter or on Facebook if you're watching on any of these platforms. But if you're watching first time listener, watcher, whatever you want to call yourselves, normally on this show, we have a segment that highlights prospects. Now, it can either be high school prospects going into college, which we'll do during the summer. But as we get closer towards the NFL draft, we like to highlight prospects that we've actually spoken to or talked to, whether it's during the season at some of these all-star games, which have been a great way to utilize the what we do best, and that's get guys to really come out of their shell. It gets guys to help get noticed, not just by draft nicks, but teams have told us that they have actively utilized interviews and interviews like us that we've been fortunate enough to give players the ability to do so. So before I get any further, explain further on that regard, we will be dropping another one. Now, if you've listened, we've had some interesting ones with the Army and Navy guys. Some very we got him back. I don't know if you can hear me now. B, can you hear me? You can hear me. Okay. And we're gonna bring him in. We're gonna try this again, and then we'll do the interview after. I apologize. It is Brandyn Pokrass. Brandyn, how's it going, my friend?
As you can see, a bit of a different setup for me tonight. Having some Wi-Fi issues where I'm staying, so I got a phone, I got this thing that is a microphone, and we're gonna make it work as always.
Yeah, that's a classic mic too. I love that, man. I love that. I love the good old. It's all reliable. I love it.
It's old reliable. I wanted to try out the what do you call it? The lav mics, those mics. They usually work. Probably the fact that I'm using a second Bluetooth connection in my AirPods is probably messing up the frequency of everything. So I didn't feel like trying to figure that out for the next hour. And it's fun. I mean, funny enough, when I recorded something a few seconds ago on my phone, audio sounded perfect. But the show goes on. So I'm here, and it's time to talk some college football in my car.
Yeah, funny enough, that's actually I was talking to Braxton Woodson from Navy, and I was doing the same thing where I had to nobody could hear me when I had these plugged in, and then when I took them off, I couldn't hear anybody. So it was a game of me plugging in to hear them and then unplugging so that I can ask questions. Oh my God, it was awful. But with skipping our classic technical difficulties, that just if you watch the show, that's just what it is sometimes. Talk some spring games and college football. We'll talk Syracuse in a bit with Dan Tortora, but you were actually already at a spring game as well with the Florida International University, FIU Panthers. Now, obviously, they have a new quarterback primarily, right, and J.J. Cole. They have a lot of new faces, new pieces. Talk about your experience there. Kevin Barrow, who also works for us, was also there. Can you just talk about your guys' experience at the game, who stuck out to you, and more?
Yeah, so we actually wrote a combo recap of the spring game, which you can find online at the league winners. But really the main thing that stood out to me initially was the play in the trenches, whether it be on the Navy side thing, Dante Anderson, or a Nick Watson on Biscayne, or a Lamont Green Jr., or a Matthew Pointer, or, I could rattle a few other guys, Nathan Jennings, the South Alabama one that comes to mind. These guys in the trenches were making a lot of plays, whether it be against the run, whether it be as pass rushers, right? And head coach Willie Simmons spoke after the spring game about how, the biggest difference between last year's unit and this year's unit is he feels that this year's unit is deeper. Now, it may not have the name brand talent of some of the guys that were on that team last year, but I'm very intrigued and fascinated and really optimistic about what that unit could achieve going forward into the 2026 season, into fall camp, and etc. Really, other areas of the team that stood out to me, the linebacker room, whether it be a Kenai Smith or Josiah Taylor, or even a Pickle Stewart who was flying around the ball, that room looks to be talented once again. The secondary made some big-time plays, whether it be a Ormond Wallace or Demetrius Hill, who had a phenomenal overall spring. On the offensive side of things, I was impressed with how the offensive line, which, FIU does a spring game draft, right? So a lot of guys are playing with guys they may not be used to, whether it be the quarterback throwing different wideouts or the offensive lineman playing with different guys on that unit. Offensive line did a pretty good job holding up in pass protection and even opening up lanes in the run game to where explosives were allowed to happen and big plays were allowed to happen in both facets of that. Moving to the run game, Sterling Joseph looked great in short yardage, as did Anthony Carey. Devontae Lyons ripped off another big-time run in the open field, breaking tackles, showing great vision. He's had a phenomenal spring as a guy that I personally have circled as someone that could break out in 2026. And finally, quarterback room, J.J. Cole, DJ Alexander, the two main quarterbacks who played. They both had really good moments, both made some really good throws. And the wide receiver room, Tyson Carter continued a phenomenal spring, making a leaping contested grab. JoJo Stone looked phenomenal. And yeah, I mean Malik Penson, also the third guy that immediately comes to mind in that room. That is a room that you add in guys like a Kyle McNeil, you add in guys like an Eric Nelson, a McGuire Anderson, and even the tight end room, Sean Burke standing out once again in the spring game. It's a weapons group that looks very intriguing. So I think the best way to sum it up is that every position group showed something, right? It wasn't like one side of the ball completely dominated for 4 quarters. In this spring game where there's a draft and guys are mixed matched and, it's not necessarily the ones versus the twos. You saw a little bit of everything. And heading into a important second year under Billy Simmons, where I think the talent is just as good, if not even better, a lot of really good signs.
Yeah, the trench work, I'm glad you said that first, because that's for me personally, like for non-autonomy schools, that's always my biggest thing, right? Because of how undersized those guys can be. Just a lack of NIL resources and stuff that they have to deal with on that and competing with the bigger schools. So I'm always fascinated to see that. It's great to see, and especially in a hotbed like Florida, a team like FIU that could get bigger, got bigger, and got stronger there. So I like seeing that as well. I'm very interested in this J.J. Cole kid because, everything you and Kevin say about him, he looks really good. The clips you guys have shown and just talking to you guys in general, I think he's able to we've talked about it a little bit, right? We think he could potentially unlock the offense in a way that we didn't necessarily see last year. Now, you guys talked to Willie Simmons afterwards. What was his thoughts on the game? What has been his message throughout this spring as they're on that break now? And just what has been his demeanor and overall culture building for 2026?
He seems very positive in terms of what they're building, right? They accomplished a lot over the spring. He's happy with how the different position groups are moving. And I think really it's just a matter of how they build upon it, right? Like you saw great things throughout the spring. And being that I was at a lot of the practices, it wasn't just exclusive of one side of the ball. Yeah, the offense had a lot of great practices, but the defense also swung back and had a lot of great practices of their own. The run game had some days where it looked very explosive. Then there were other days where the defensive line looked phenomenal. There were days where the separation from the wideouts was top tier. There was days where the secondary was locking things down. So you have this back and forth affair, and then you reach the spring game where, guys drafted to the teams, as I keep saying, and you're still seeing a lot of those positives. You're now heading into an important summer workout session where you want guys to keep lifting and keep, perfecting their process to now where you hit the fall. You have a good baseline of where you want things to be. You have a good baseline of what to build upon. And now you can start that journey to a very important week 1 game against USF.
Yeah, and that's important is a great word for it because this season is going to be tough for them. Obviously, they're going to have a bigger target on their back now after how they kind of jumped in production in year 1 under Willie Simmons. What are your main takeaways entering, as they enter the summer? How confident are you in this program to not just pick up where they left off, but potentially outperform expectations?
At the end of the day, the spring is good in terms of getting your first look, in terms of building a foundation, but it's very hard to take what you learn from the spring and say something is going to be a success or not, because so much of it is, okay, how do you come back in the fall? What does it look like in the summer months building towards the fall and the opening week of the season, right? I would say based on what I've seen, there should be a lot of reason for optimism, right? I think there is reason that the FIU passing attack could be even better than it was last year. I think there is reason to say that the wide receiver room could take a step up from where it was last year, especially at the start of the season. I think there's a reason for optimism that the secondary won't fall back that much and that the linebacker room and the defensive line will be deeper and be able to sustain a full season, right? But you can only say that based on what you've seen, and you just need a bit more information, right? You need that second part that second part of the follow through, right? It's one thing to believe the first thing you say. It's another thing to see it once again once fall practice starts and once the true build toward week 1 starts. That's what I'm looking forward to, because all this optimism, all these great things that happen for FIU, they are great in the moment. But let's not forget, Keywan Jenkins and the passing offense looked like he was going to be one of the best in the Conference USA last spring, right? That didn't happen right off the bat because FIU's passing attack did hit its stride, but it wasn't a one-to-one thing, right? The secondary showed a ton of talent, but it didn't exactly hit its stride right off the bat. So, like, it's good to have your baseline. It's good to see these great things, but you just have to know that it might not be exactly the way you think it's going to go right away.
Yeah, that's what's fascinating, man. A lot of spring can be deceiving. Well, I guess we'll just say that.
It can absolutely be
ways.
deceiving.
Yeah.
It can be deceiving in both ways. It's just a matter of, understanding that, still analyzing everything, and then realizing what you're seeing in the fall and the summer, really should be summer and fall if you want to go chronologically, is building upon that, and that it can either add to your thoughts, detract from your thoughts, or be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I completely agree. I guess it's a good segue for potential excitement and wonder and curiosity, and I guess I'll be talking with USF because I just saw we have our next guest in the green room as well. We'll talk a little bit FAU after, but I do want to bring her on because she was at practice today. I think it was today, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long day for me. And you guys will be at the spring game this weekend. It is the wonderful Mackenzie Neglia. Mackenzie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. As you can see, Brandon has pitched a 10 outside, and he's having fun. Love the dedication, am I right? That's a great guy right there. But Mackenzie, you were at practice, so I just want to. You've been at practice, so I just want to hear what it's been like for you, what you've been noticing, how's the vibes heading into the weekend, and let fans hear what they want to hear about some USF Bulls football.
Yeah, I'll start with what Coach Hartline said today in his press conference, and I feel the same way. Which, like, the spring went very, very fast. Like, it kind of feels like we just started and it's already wrapping up. But ultimately, he's pleased with how they've been doing, and in terms of what to look for in the spring game, it's a really, one of the big things from every day that I've been at practice, and I know Brandon's seen it too, is like there's a lot of high school kids there. There's a lot of recruits, and the spring game is a good chance for scouting and recruiting to happen. But he said, it's really going to be based heavily on fundamentals and techniques, kind of showing what the guys have learned throughout the spring. But it's also a game, so elevating to like that level and seeing how they perform. So it'll be fun for the fans to come out and to watch the game and to have a good time. But ultimately, every player is being evaluated and kind of graded essentially. And staying healthy for them is definitely a priority. Like, a few guys are injured right now. A few more kind of look like they got a little banged up during the spring. But coming out of this game without any injuries would definitely be preferred.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think it's great to see that the high school kids are there, because the practices, especially spring, is a time where you can kind of lock some stuff down, and the spring game itself is a way to get those more in-depth conversations going, I guess, with recruits. I was at the Syracuse Spring Game, and they had a couple of recruits commit at the spring game or right before it. So I'm sure we're seeing the same thing with USF. Have they decided how they're going to pick the teams at all? Do you guys know, or is it still not disclosed how they're going to go about that? Like, in terms of who's playing who?
I'm not sure. They're being very kind of selective, careful of what they're displaying and what they're showing. So I'm not sure, actually.
Okay, I was curious because a lot of coaches have like because FIU Syracuse did like a draft. I know some other schools do it by like first, you know, starters versus backups, and then vice versa for offense, defense. So I'm always fascinated to see how that goes. But that's very interesting about how he described doing that. I'm curious because there's like we've all talked about. There's like a lot of positions open, right, on this USF team. So, Brandon, I'm going to ask you going into this weekend. I won't say necessarily who you're looking for to take, solidify a spot. Maybe you are, but what are you more looking for from the team in general?
I mean, I don't think, based on what Heartline said today, based on what Mackenzie has talked about, I don't think anything is going to be solidified coming out this spring. And, he's consistently talked about that throughout the spring. Personally, I'm looking for, specific traits from certain positions, right? I want to see the quarterbacks, how they operate over the middle of the field and operate deeper down the field, right? How are you operating in that pro style S scheme? The running backs, the vision, the speed, the explosiveness, wide receivers, the route running, the understanding of, how to attack playing that position on a play-by-play basis. Tight end, kind of an all-around thing. And same thing with offensive line. Then defensively, are there guys that are working on their pass rush moves? Or are they just trying to rely on a single skill set? How are the linebackers communicating? And the same with the safeties. How are the cornerbacks attacking the different coverages, right? Because at the end of the day, you're not going to see the full USF scheme. I saw something earlier that, Heartline doesn't want to show too much due to some prying eyes or people that he thinks may be watching, and that happens, advanced scouting ahead of, certain games, people getting an eye on certain things, first year head coach doesn't want to show too much. So I think from a schematic standpoint, you're not going to see a ton that really gives insight into, hey, what's the USF offense and the USF defense really going to look like? So with that in mind, I'm more so looking for the more individual things, right? Okay, this guy looks really great at route running and is fast. This is how I think he'll fit into a scheme that does X, Y, and Z. Okay, this guy ripped off a big play. He has the traits to do X, Y, and Z, right? So it's kind of going the opposite of, like, essentially watching the game is the opposite of what Heartline's talked about, right? Heartline wants to build the scheme around the player's strengths, right? Now, what you're going to get a chance to do on Sunday is see what the player's strengths are and now try to, think about and analyze what their place in the scheme may be.
Yeah, that's what I'm very interested in seeing. Because I'm going to be watching whatever they let you guys film. I'm going to be watching pretty intently myself to just try to get some peeks about what I can be. I'll be nosy with it, I guess. Mackenzie, so what are you looking for? I mean, from not even just from like a player standpoint, but like just overall progress wise, how do you want the offense to look? What do you want the team to look like? Do you what are your thoughts going into Sunday?
I think the main thing is probably seeing who really stands out from each group and seeing like what we've seen from practice, how they kind of showcase that, put that all together. And also, I think they're very like oriented to the fans and wanting to please them in a sense, and like to be very involved with them and showcase what they can do. And it's it's going to be a little tough for the players, but it's also going to be fun. And I'll also say the other things that Heartline mentioned today kind of exclusively, which he hasn't really said before, is that the QB1 battle right now is between Luke Kromenhoek and Michael Van Buren. Ooh. So the two, Kromenhoek is from he's from Florida State and Mississippi State, and Van Buren's from LSU. So I kind of say, that competition right now is high also.
Yeah. Okay. That's fascinating because I wasn't sure if we were going to know even a tidbit of that. I think the fan interaction too. Obviously for spring games, that's probably that's as or more important for the fan base to have a spring game that's intricate to what the fans want to see and hear. And I'm actually very fascinated about that quarterback, but I don't know. I'm going to ask you, Mackenzie, how is like the backdrop now? Is the stadium like right on the backdrop of the practice field? Like, how is that looking?
Yeah, it's crazy. It it looks like every day you go there and it looks like they've done so much more.
Yeah.
And you see like the workers like up on the levels, just like walking around.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be done. Is that done this year, right? That's going to be done this year and then introduced next year, or done next year?
Done next year.
Okay. Okay. Oh, it got
Yeah.
delayed, right? I think it got delayed. Okay, that's right.
It's set to be ready for the 2027 season.
So it's gonna be ready for next year. Okay, okay. So Brandon, I'm gonna ask you about the news Mackenzie just dropped. The hashtag breaking. I need the little thing at the bottom, the little ticker. What are your thoughts on that? And I know you've been a Chrono guy, so just give your thoughts on that.
I mean, I think it makes sense, right? They're the two guys with pedigree in a sense that you bring in. And when I say pedigree, I'm talking like these two guys have played at the SEC level. They've had experience in game action, right? Even Chroma Hoke playing at the ACC level to an extent. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see how they respond to being the guy in the offense and how they operate the scheme. And, there's so much that goes into playing a quarterback position that you may not even be privy to from just watching a game or watching a few plays, right? So I think everything being taken into consideration for this competition and not even being necessarily decided this spring is good. I'm just very excited to see that first look at what both guys are able to do in the spring game, because I think it'll be a nice, as we talked about with FIU, a nice foundational aspect to build upon as we head into the fall.
Yeah. One of the things I'm always so curious about with quarterback rooms and coaches is like who is responsible for the protections, whether it's the center or one of the offensive linemen or the quarterback itself, and who has the ability to set that at the line of scrimmage, because it's different for each team. Some guys rely solely on the quarterback if the guy's more familiar with the system, but a lot of teams utilize the center. So I'm curious to see any guys who are in a first year in Heartline's system. Well, I mean, everybody's going to be first year, right? If he relies more on the center doing that work, or an offensive lineman, or one of the quarterbacks handling that on top of learning the new scheme. I'm very fascinated in that. So that'll be interesting. I think obviously that's going to play a role in how things dictate itself too, right? But Mackenzie, so going into this Sunday, I mean, a lot of stuff has happened, a lot of stuff on the board, but like in terms of fan turnout, like USF seems to have a lot of fans, right? I mean, you guys had the last event you guys went to together. That was, from what I've heard, that was bustling, and for a non-autonomy school, that's kind of uncommon in a lot of places outside of the big guns. So it seems like USF is kind of taking that stride, as we've talked about before, into becoming one of the big guns, especially in Florida. It's just the hotbed that it is. What are you expecting, like fan turnout wise? I mean, do you think it's going to be a popular event? Do you think that the USF fan base is strong enough that they're going to show out? Because even ACC schools have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think it is. I think the students itself kind of have their own. I'm not gonna say their own like fan base, but like their own kind of group, and they do a bunch of stuff for football and the other sports as well. But
Cool.
Football is their own. Just football starting up again and everything. With Heartline coming in, and they're very excited about what's going on, and I've been asked by a bunch of people, like what to look for, kind of what's happening, where some of the players are at, and I think it's exciting for them. And we talk about too, like USF having this investment in football, and even along with the stadium, they have a whole new operations facility that's being built with that they're going to be moving into too. So it's a lot of eagerness, I think, to see what they can do next.
Yeah, I agree, and it's been great too. I mean, seeing your account being able to grow too now. Every time you're at practice, you're getting a good amount of likes and stuff on your content. How has that changed from year one to where you just started to year two? Have you had family members or players hit you in the DMs asking how their kid's doing or anything like that yet?
Yeah, I've had definitely more interactions with players. Definitely family. I've had recruits' moms like the last few days come and talk to me, which I think is like the sweetest thing ever. And yeah, I mean it's crazy. Even thinking like last year, I didn't really kind of came into it new, and now this year I had definitely some more experience to go off of.
Yeah, you've been doing a great job. Obviously, you've been helping us a lot, and you're consistent and reliable, and you put out great content and great work. So we do appreciate you. Mackenzie, before I get you out of here, though, let everyone know where they can find you at on your social media and everything, and how they can get in touch with you and DM you about random stuff.
Yeah, all my USF coverage is on my Twitter, so it's just at my first and last name, Mackenzie Neglia.
Awesome. Mackenzie, thank you so much for coming on. I truly appreciate you.
Of course. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
That is Mackenzie Neglia. You can find her on X/Twitter at MackenziEneglia. Mackenzie Neglia, all one word. She does a fantastic job for us. Make sure you guys follow her on X/Twitter. Please don't harass her. That was a joke. Don't do that. That's not good. But if you're a recruit's mom or dad, find out some information from USF football. She's the lady to go to, as is this guy. But we're going to be talking about some FAU stuff now because, I mean, going down the list of Florida schools, kind of maneuvering, grooving around. And Florida Atlantic also happens to have their spring game this – is it a spring game?
It is a spring game. It is on Friday. Yes.
So how – I mean, I know they haven't shown much in spring practice to this point. So I guess what I'm going to ask you, and we kind of, if anybody who follows Brandyn, make sure you guys follow him at BPOC24 on Twitter or on Instagram for player interviews and stuff like that. Just great work. Obviously, that's why he's here. So what are you looking for from Florida Atlantic? Whether it's because we're not going to see Caden Velkamp, we might not see a couple receivers. I mean, what are you looking for in this event?
I mean, kind of what we talked about last week, right? I'm looking for how the newcomers fit into the scheme. I'm looking for really it's kind of the same thing as I'm looking for at USF. What guys stand out? Who makes plays? Who's able to, under the lights at FAU, stand out and really make an impact, right? Because, look, the worst-kept secret is like one game or one performance in the spring doesn't mean a guy is going to start or get playing time, right? These are all these teams, whether it is your Auburns, your Floridas, all the way down to your FCS schools and your non-autonomy teams like an FAU, a USF, FIU, right? There's countless scrimmages, there's countless live reps, practices that happen over the course of a spring, right? So one practice or one game isn't necessarily making or breaking anything, but it's the type of situation this is, right? You're under the lights. It's quote unquote prime time, right? You got fans in the stands. How do you either step up or not step up in that situation? Can you make plays? Can you overcome adversity in those spots, right? All these different things along those lines. And I'm really fascinated to see how an FAU team with a lot of newcomers that is dealing with some injuries, that is going to put some more guys into positions they may not have been in at the start of the spring. How do they handle that? How do they go about that? I'm fascinated to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Kitley, and he said that Caden Velkamp could have been cleared, and I guess he's been doing 7-on-7s, which I'm not sure he's shown you guys. I don't even know what he's shown you, to be honest. So I thought that was interesting. Hopefully, he ends up staying healthy enough for summer and fall camp. But that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of retention, but we don't know who's necessarily going to be in that game because of injuries. But there's also a lot of transfers coming into. You said he mentioned one of the incoming transfers, a wide receiver from Texas Tech, correct?
Kelby Volson.
Yeah, So that's a player that I'm potentially looking at, because if he said it to you a million times, he said it to me. That's a guy who obviously I think is going to have a big role in this, in the offense going forward. And with a team like FAU, where we have a lot of questions about not the defensive players per se, but potentially the scheme, the offense I think is going to have to play a big role. So with them not having like a Caden Velkamp in this contest to really mimic, I guess, specifically what the defense could see from a high quality starting quarterback. What are you expecting out of the defense, if anything, that you can take away at all by facing backups?
I think there's a lot I can take away, right? Does your mentality stay the same? How's your aggressiveness, right? How do you attack the ball in the air, even if it's not the perfect throw, right? How do you deal with adversity if a backup quarterback or a guy that maybe isn't on the level of a starter starts having success, right? These are all things that pop up over the course of a football season, specifically a college football season, this day and age, right? So I'm really fascinated to see how a lot of guys handle those situations and go about that. Same goes for the offense, right? This is a guy in Caden Velkamp who I think he'll be great and ready to roll for the regular season. What if he does deal with an injury again? And now you do have a backup in. How does the offense handle that? How do they go about their business? How does their mentality stay the same? There's always something you can take out of every single situation. And yes, all the starters may not be playing, and the priority for FAU is health. So they're probably not going to be pushing a lot of guys if it's 50-50. How do you respond in those situations? Because even with a spring game that doesn't feature all the stars and all the guys that are going to be the impact players, there's always something you can get out of a situation like this.
Yeah, and they're having a legitimate spring. Have they talked about how they're splitting the team up at all?
It has not been disclosed, no. As of now, it's probably standard, but a format has not been disclosed yet.
Okay, that'll be interesting to see too. So we've talked a lot about FA. Which stinks about Florida Atlantic is that we've talked about them a lot, but they don't show enough to have the more than like normal talking points, right? Like how many times?
I do want to give one player that I'm very excited for on the defensive side of the ball. Talk about Kelby Volson, Jamari Powell-Watson, the Maryland transfer, had 3 touchdowns in last Saturday's scrimmage. He's a guy that has a ton of talent. I had him circled as a transfer guy that maybe not necessarily this year, but in the future can be a huge asset for this offense. Guy on defense that's been standing out is Justin Weatherall, one of the incoming freshmen, early enrollees for FAU. He's evidently had a ton of takeaways. He's won their takeaway title 2 weeks this spring. In a room with so many newcomers, this is the perfect situation for someone like him to step into a role and be able to get onto the field. You never know what the coaching staff's thinking. You never know how things are going to go down, but he's probably if not the number one player I'm excited to watch on Friday on defense, he's at the top of the list. I'm very excited to see how he attacks that game, because every defense needs someone like that, a ball hawking, go get it mentality defensive back. And if he can bring that to the table, that is going to be huge for FAU this season.
Yeah, and somebody that we've interviewed, right? The company, great player,
Indeed.
Great kid. So make sure you guys check that out. I believe it's on our YouTube channel. If not, check it out on Instagram. I know it's on there for a fact. That's also somebody that Kitley mentioned too, as well. Also, maybe we just have a good eye for talent. I don't know. Let's not pat ourselves on the back too much, right? But I do love hearing that. I do want to ask you this too, because when we talk about Caden Velkamp going down, how confident, and I always have to preface this with FAU doesn't let these guys see a lot, and these guys as in media see a lot practice-wise. So I'm going to ask you, Brandon, we're kind of talking super hypothetical, but say Caden does go down, how confident are you that the backups are able to keep that offense afloat?
I can't give you a great answer for that yet, because I'll have a better idea for you Friday. It won't be a perfect answer, but how is the offense going to change to fit the strengths of the backup, right? Who is going to be the backup, right? Are you going to reduce the play sheet, expand the play sheet in some regards, right? Because it's so easy to say, oh, is the offense going to be the same if Caden Velkamp isn't it? But you also have to remember, like, this is an offense that's being built for and around Caden Valkamp, right? He is the star that everything orbits around. The planets, the moon, right? The gravity. Everything orbits around what they want him to be for this offense. You take that away, now you're going to have to do some different things, right? Maybe you are not running the exact same offense with, let's say, a Jordan Magwood. Maybe you're not running the exact same offense with a Jeremiah Dowd or a Drew Deviler. So I can't come out and say, yeah, they're going to just, it's not going to be the same without actively having an idea of what things would look like and how the offense would look with a different guy under center. Because that's something that can only be answered once you approach that situation, right? It's not going to be answered in the spring game. It's not going to be answered over the course of fall camp. That only happens if that situation is presented with itself in the regular season.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I don't want to keep beating that horse, but that's kind of the big question, right? Is how everything ends up meshing together with Caden healthy, and if he's not.
And by the way, you're going to find out fast, considering that FAU opens up with Florida.
Yes, yes. It doesn't get.
You're going to find out very fast.
It's what, Florida, Navy, then FIU is the first three.
Yep.
Yes. So great Florida team. Defense. Brian Newberry continuously has great defense with Navy, and the triple option has notoriously given Florida Atlantic problems. And then FIU, we're seeing, we talked about success Willie Simmons has had. They won last year's Shula Bowl in a very dominating factor, and the end of that game was the stuff that happened post game. I think that put a chip on everybody's shoulder. So I think this game's gonna have a lot more meaning behind it than last year, hopefully. So it's Florida Atlantic has to get out hot. I mean, they don't have to beat Florida, but they have to at least win one or two of those other games. So we'll see if they're able to do that. But I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know you're out, not out and having some issues. Technical Wi-Fi stuff. So before we get you out of here, though, let everybody know where they can find you out on your social media.
You see it below. At BPOC24. I'm on there on Twitter. I'm also there on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on TikTok. I'm really excited to get that stuff rolling as we approach the regular season. And look, the summer months, it's the calm before the storm, right? The summer months before a big time 2026 season kicks off. Stay tuned for coverage for the FAU and USF Spring Games this weekend before then. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
I appreciate you, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Have a great one. Peace.
That is Brandyn Pokrass, VP of the League Winners. You guys can find him on X/Twitter or Instagram at BPOK24. Make sure you guys follow him for Florida content, whether it's high school recruiting, college with the FAU, USF, and a couple other schools are going to be added into that mix. And then we do some NFL stuff as well. And if you are watching this video, this is a live show. If you do a comment, I will make sure to get back to you. If you're watching, click that like button. It's completely free to do so. Make sure to share it, retweet it, subscribe to the channel if you like college football content. Now, before Brandyn and Mackenzie came onto the show, I did mention that normally we do a prospect profile kind of thing where we have a feature in the episode highlighting one of the players that we've interviewed. Usually they're high school prospects going into college football. We do that during the summer times, but because we're about to be approaching the NFL draft, we want to highlight some of the NFL prospects that we've been fortunate enough to talk to and have in-depth conversations with. I really do appreciate the opportunities that they've given us. Eric Alco from the Shrine Bowl, people from the Hula Bowl, and just all the SIDs and communications administrations that have helped us and bring us in contact with these athletes. I do appreciate all of them. So shout out to all of them. With that said, this week's episode, we're going to talk about offensive lineman Nolan Rucci from Penn State. He was at the 2026 Shrine Bowl, and fortunately enough, me and Brandyn were able to talk to him and have about a 10-minute conversation with him. So before we bring on Dan Tortora and Shane Barrett, we're going to have both those guys on triple threat, baby. So stay tuned for that. That'll be fun. I'm going to present the Nolan Rucci interview, and I hope you all enjoy it. I'm going to back myself out of here as we take a quick break, and make sure you enjoy No.
My name is Nolan Rucci. I'm an offensive tackle, and I went to Penn State University.
We are here at the East West Shrine Bowl. Talk to us about your experience so far. What's been your favorite part of it? What's been your favorite, thing that you've been able to pick up over the course of this event?
Yeah, this has been such a great opportunity to get down here and be able to compete against some of the best guys in the nation. Be able to put myself out there, whether that's on the field or I think one of my favorite parts has been just the interview process that we've gotten to do with the scouts and GMs from all the different teams. It's pretty invaluable to be able to sit down, get in front of teams, be yourself, and be able to articulate confidently all the reasons why you think you can have the ability to play at the next level. And so getting to sit down in front of those guys, be yourself, and kind of get that introductory process started has been a great experience for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you this because it's been like a very interesting year for Penn State, right? You guys had a lot of ups and downs. I mean, the coaching changed. There's a lot of adversity there. A lot of people counted you guys out, and you guys fought and clawed your way back throughout the season. Can you just talk about how that adversity helped you grow into the player you are?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's often said, you learn a lot more through adversity than you do the wins. And I think that's definitely true, just given this past season of, somewhat turmoil that we had at Penn State. Obviously sometimes things don't always go the way you want them, and your head coach getting fired after week 5 is definitely one of those things you don't expect to happen over the course of the season. But I think it was a great experience for me, just understanding what it takes to keep a locker room together. Definitely having coming through some adversity like that. And kind of having to step into more of a leadership role than maybe you thought you were going to play to begin the season. And so that was a great learning lesson for me, being able to keep the young guys together, keeping them part of the process and let them know, hey, this isn't the end of the world. We still got a lot of football ahead of us, and we can either, sink with the ship or keep swimming. And so I think that's something I'm really proud of our team, about this season to, be able to come back from that and, win the last 3 games of the season and have that success. Definitely, made us stronger as a group.
Tying into that, you've been a part of some very fun Penn State teams. Talk about what your favorite memory being a part of that football program was.
Yeah, I can definitely say last year's playoff run was, a really cool experience. I think being able to, win the Fiesta Bowl with, my teammates, and then, for that to go into the new year, I think we were getting off the bus as it, struck 2025. And so to, share such a cool experience to be out there in Arizona winning, playoff games with your buddies, that was really invaluable for me and something I'll definitely treasure forever.
And you talk about teammates. Obviously, now you're working with a lot of new ones that you haven't necessarily spent time with before.
Yeah.
In the offensive line, I always hear the metaphor that it's like a fist, and 5 fingers form the fist. So how has that camaraderie been with the unit, and how have you guys bounced ideas off of each other?
Yeah, it's almost like you never miss a beat when you walk into an O-line room full of, even guys that you never met before. Especially in the offensive line position, everyone kind of has that same mindset and, compatibility together where, you step into a room of 5 other guys who've played the similar position that you have. And, it's like you've been doing it for forever. So it's just getting on top of the new things like the playbook, different terminology, schemes and whatnot. But, I think we've really meshed well as a group, and something I've been really excited about since I've gotten down here.
A lot of guys that play the offensive line talk about how it's a real war in the trenches. It's an art form, right? You have to deal with so many different types of defensive linemen, whether it be power guys, speed guys, guys that can throw everything at you. And you're also working in conjunction with your fellow teammates, whether it be on stunts and twists and different things along those lines. When it comes to playing the position, how do you like to attack all the different things that go into it? And being at an event like this where you're having pro schemes thrown at you in a larger capacity, how have you felt yourself grow as a player in those different areas?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that not a lot of people always fully understand, is that it's not just about being able to out physical and, push the guy around across from you based off of your bench numbers and things like that. So much of offensive line play is mental, and being able to, appreciate the opponent film study that you're doing, understanding the different techniques that the guys across from you have played when you're watching film, whether that's, they're up the field penetrators, or they play laterally and spike inside and move. And so to be able to go back and watch, film from the season, get an understanding of, what kind of player you're going up against across from you, and kind of prepare mentally for that game. That's something I'm definitely, glad that our offensive line coach at Penn State prepared me for, just with the, the level of preparation that we put into each week of each game during the season. And understanding that it's only going to get more difficult as you prepare for, guys in the NFL when that game speed is, a tick up another 100%. So, I'd say the most important aspect is just, understanding who you are, who your capabilities are, and how that plays into the techniques and things that the guy across me is doing.
Yeah, I always like to say that film study can be the difference between a good and a great player, that work ethic. And I'm glad you mentioned your coaching staff too, because you have learned under a lot of great coaches who have motivated you and gotten you to be a better player. And now you're working with a lot of NFL coaches as you get ready to gear up towards that next level. How is that, I guess, change might be the wrong word, but how has that experience been for you so far here?
Yeah, I think it's great to, for me, just to see reinforced a lot of the things that our O-line coach at Penn State taught us. The ability to go up in front of, a group of guys, get on the board and draw, all 11 on offense, all 11 on defense, the defensive front, even the coverages and things like that. To see that that's, important, and teams like to see that you can do that at the next level for sure. And so I'm really glad to have gotten the coaching and the preparation that I did while I was at Penn State and be able to take that to the next level.
Being that you're having so many of these pro style schemes thrown at you, have you found a type of scheme or a type of system, I'd say, that you may feel that at the next level may take the full advantage of your skill set? Or are you kind of in a position where you're excited to learn and excited to see what may truly be that perfect fit for you?
Yeah, I think that's something I'm definitely still figuring out. What is my potential as far as being an offensive lineman? I know, some of the things that I definitely excel at is just being athletic in space, being able to, whether I'm at left or right tackle, because I do get moved around and I excel at both of those positions. Just being able to use my athleticism to my advantage, whether that's pulling out in the edge or, in gap scheme, sticking my foot in the ground and getting vertical on the second level. Just things like that you get an opportunity to display how well you can move for, a guy my size. Those are, some of the aspects of offense I enjoy.
I ask a lot of players this because a lot of them tend to have either a superstition, a routine, or just anything to get their head right before game day, right? Does that apply to you at all? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any big superstitions like putting on one shoe before the other. I definitely will tape my fingers in a certain way before I put my gloves on, and I'm always listening to music before. It's definitely a lot of maybe some R&B to start while I'm on the bus, kind of calm or low level stuff, and then as it gets closer to game time, maybe start listening to some heavy metal, some classic rock. Big song I always like to listen to is some Tom Sawyer by Rush, or some stuff from Metallica. Just as you get closer to that game time, start getting amped up. Hell yeah.
Following up with that, I'm a gigantic music fan and a big R&B fan as well. What is that perfect song? And if you don't have one, you can name a few. What are that perfect song or those perfect songs that sets that tone for you on that game day?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said, maybe some Tom Sawyer by Rush. I've been listening to a lot more Tool as of late. So, kind of like those, rock or, metal songs that start off slow and really start building up. That's the kind of stuff I love listening to, and kind of get the heart pumping as I'm getting taped up, getting amped for the game.
And a question I love asking guys as they head toward the next level is about mentorship and guys they look up to or guys that they've watched a lot of. So tying into that, as you head to the NFL level, who's the guy that you would love to have as a mentor figure? It can be a past player, it can be a current player. And who's a player that you would love to add an aspect of their game into your own?
Yeah. Growing up, I was always a Patriots fan, and I watched a lot of Nate Soldier as a tackle up there in New England, and always loved his game. Someone I'm really fortunate to have as a mentor this week is Dan Skipper from the Lions, who recently retired. And so being able to pick his brain on, a lot of different topics, not even about on the field stuff, but just about being a rookie in the NFL, how you conduct yourself in those meeting rooms, what you should be looking out for, and just the lessons that, you might not get until you are, thrown into one of those locker rooms. So having him around has been an invaluable resource this week and something I've definitely appreciated.
Yeah, and before we get you out of here, brother, just let everybody know where they can find you out on your social media.
Yeah, it's just at Nolan Rucci, both Instagram and Twitter.
Two flubs there. It's always supposed to bring me back, and I'm not supposed to be muted after the fact. It's always fascinating to listen to offensive linemen talk, hearing that the guys that they want to be like. I always think it's so fascinating that a lot of football players actually start their warm-up routines with like soft calming music before they're getting ready to blow each other's heads off, metaphorically speaking. I always think that's hilarious. I do have our next guest in the green room. I haven't talked to him in a long time. He was on last week's show. I feel a little offended now, but I'm gonna bring it in. We're gonna talk some Auburn football. It is my good friend Shane Barrett. Well, hold on. There it goes. Shane, how you doing today, my friend?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. So you're in a new place now. The background's still the same. I love it. I love the blur background. How's everything been going with you, man?
It's good, man. And don't feel bended. Honestly, I probably could have come on previous shows before last week. I just forgot because undiagnosed ADHD is what we'll call it. But yeah, no, everything's great. I'm back in South Carolina now. Still covering Auburn. I'm actually working on an article right now that you and I had talked about previously for the top 5 transfers out of Auburn. And then I actually have 2 more that I need to get out, hopefully before the spring game on Saturday. And I got to find a way to watch that so I can actually do my recap of the spring game for Auburn next week.
Yeah, I was going through that list earlier, so we're going to talk about them a little bit. I wanted to ask you, and there's been a lot of oh my God, I see DT in the green room. Before I bring DT out, I wanted to ask you.
Oh no,
there's been a lot of I guess I don't scrutiny or talk about Byron Brown's throwing mechanics. Obviously,
oh my God,
greatest. So I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were on that and why it blew up in social media. I mean, should it be a cause for concern? Do you think it's a cause for concern?
Thomas, I have been working on my language and trying to not curse as much, and you almost made me curse on your show. Like I almost dropped the F-bomb because no, it does not matter. Do you people not remember Tim Tebow's throwing motion? Tim Tebow, arguably one of the top 2 quarterbacks in college football history. Okay? Right? Like from a production standpoint, accolades.
He was a legend, yeah.
Tebow was amazing. His throwing motion sucked. Like I think my 7-year-old could throw it faster than Tim Tebow. Okay? And she's got an arm, but she can't throw that well. Like, no, it doesn't matter. What matters is, can he get the ball from point A to point B and get the ball to the receivers accurately? Yes. From what we've seen at South Florida, the answer to that question is yes. Am I worried about it in the SEC? No, because Alex Golesh is an offensive guru. We've seen him have success in the SEC with Tennessee. We've seen him have success at USF. Like, the dude can coach offense. I'm not going to do it. I see Dan encouraging me.
Stop encouraging him to have us take off the PG-13 sticker on the show.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that to you. Well, with PG-13, you do get 1 F-bomb, but I'm not gonna do that to you.
17.
But no, ultimately, I don't think it matters. We'll find out too. Like, they play Florida in Game 3.
Yeah.
If he can't get the ball to his receivers accurately in Week 3 against an SEC team, which they already played.
I was just about to say that he's already beat him. So
yeah. So no, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, on a potentially, we'll say, I don't want to say potentially worse because obviously a lot of guys came over from Auburn, but a lot of the good guys came over. So he played with some not SEC caliber players and still won that game. So
yeah,
I mean, I don't think people should. So I'm gonna bring him in because he's in the green room. I'm gonna ask him the same question. You guys all know him, of course. You love him. It is Dan Tortora. Dan, I wanted to ask you because I mean, you just heard me ask Shane. Try not to drop any F-bombs in the process. Does Byron Brown's throwing motion should it be a concern? I mean, are you concerned?
I mean, listen, Byron Brown did a heck of a job for South Florida. I mean, he's the reason why South Florida got on the map recently. So, you know, I'm a fan. It's been a minute since they've had a quarterback that they could really lean on. I was a big fan of Quentin Flowers when he was at South Florida, but he did a lot of different things. He also went through a lot. Like, he suffered loss in his family like no other, and he was just a hardworking guy. And I mean, South Florida's had some dogs, and I think that, you know, seeing Golesh bring him over, obviously he thinks that there's value to what he can do. And you want to keep your guys that you trust. You don't keep everybody, but you keep the guys that you trust. So, I mean, I know the SEC is the SEC, and I know there's going to be its own challenges, but I also know that Golesh wouldn't bring him over and have him lead an offense unless he really believed that he was up for the task. So he's still going to have an opportunity to do it. And I did that entire thing without swearing, and I did that entire thing without seeing that sweet specimen of a man right there. Shane, I kept my cool, Shane, because what I was going to do tonight is I was going to have this backdrop, and I was going to make everybody think we're all hanging out and I'm here in New York. And then you're going to see me run from behind you in your house and give you a hug. That's what was going to happen. That would have happened. It almost happened. I talked to Golesh. I said, Golesh, he knows where you live. Let's reverse look up his house. And then we did it. And so Golesh had me prepared to see you.
That would have been awesome.
So,
it'll happen someday. It's going to happen.
Thomas, there's been 12 people in college football history that have thrown for 3,000 yards and 1,000 yards. Lamar Jackson, I think, is the only one that's done it twice. Yeah. Byron Brown almost did it twice. People forget that his freshman year, he had 800 yards rushing and over 3,000 yards passing. Yeah, I'm not worried.
No, I saw that guy hurdle people multiple times and still run.
Small.
No, he's like, he really reminds me of Cam Newton. I mean,
don't do that to me.
Don't give it that. I mean, I'm just being honest, man. That's been my comp of him for a while, and just last year specifically, like I think he finally showed like what I don't even think that's a ceiling. You know what I mean? I really don't. I think there's certain aspects that he could have gotten even better at, and he was dealing with something last year too. Like he wasn't even completely healthy. So I think he's gonna have a fantastic year. I'm a huge Byron Brown fan. I wanted to ask you too, Shane. What are your thoughts on goal? Like, have you kept tabs on all the practice, like all the media stuff that they've been doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we've talked about it. My sources are usually Locked on Auburn and The Barn, which are two podcasts that are done by Auburn guys, and then also the War Report, which has the Up Tempo podcast. And all those guys go to practice and report on it, and I'm listening to those daily. And I mean, I talked about it last week a little bit with Brandon, but it's like the little things that clearly weren't being done under Freeze are being done now, and it gives me so much hope going forward that, like, even if in year one, because everyone says Auburn has a tough schedule, which I'll circle back to if you'll let me, and they go 7-5 because it's Golesh's first year as a head coach in the SEC, but then going forward, like, I've got so much encouragement because all the little things are being done right. Attention to detail matters. Golesh is coaching all over the field. Like, they're like, does he have a body double like at practice? Because he'll be with one group 1 minute and then he'll be with a group across the field the next minute. And he's just involved in every single aspect of practice. Where with Hugh, like, Hugh was on offense. He would maybe come over to the defense for a little bit, but like Golesh is everywhere. And so I'm really encouraged from what I'm hearing from a practice standpoint, at least from a head coaching standpoint, and the details that matter.
Right, Dan. I want to ask you that too, because you've talked to Golesh. I mean,
Yeah.
you've had interviews with him. What are your takeaways on Golesh, like as a guy and a coach?
I mean, listen, I'm a fan. I've been a fan. Him and I have had really great conversations, and we've done it over a long period of time. I mean, really, since he came in to South Florida, we've talked, and we'll text back and forth. We'll talk with each other, and he sits with me when we have the media days and whatnot. And I remember what he said when he got up from the media day with the American this past year in Charlotte. When we were talking, he went over to his players when we were done, and he was like, "Hey, you'll like this guy. He's a South Florida guy." And it's just like, because I mean, I support my people, and I've been a big fan of just our communication, seeing what's happened. I mean, listen, he comes to South Florida, and it's been a long time since South Florida was relevant. Willie Taggart got them relevant. Then he took the job at Oregon, and then he went to Florida State. People forget he won 8 games at Oregon. But when Willie was there, they got good because they really weren't going anywhere. And South Florida was kind of this team that wasn't a factor nationally, wasn't necessarily a factor in conference and whatnot. And when Taggart left, there was all this in between. And then Alex Golesh came in, and he got to a bowl game, blew Syracuse out, got to another bowl game. Like, he's been doing a lot of good work, and he's giving the team a winning record. He's giving them a fighting chance. And for the first time in the history of South Florida, they're going to have a stadium on their campus. Don't think that he's not a part of that. Don't think he's not a part of what they're doing in the facilities in general. I mean, they always say you should leave something better than you found it. And there's no way that Golesh didn't leave South Florida better than he found it.
Yeah, that's what I'm so interested in seeing, because he's like Shane alluded to, like, he's not just focusing on one side of the ball either. He's a guy that's around everywhere. That's going to be one of the fascinating things. And I know people have brought up the schedule, which I won't let you get back to that, Shane. Like, what are your thoughts on the schedule? I mean, it's an SEC schedule is an SEC schedule, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are your I mean, is it as unrealistic for them to succeed this year as people are making it out to be? Or do you think that's overblown?
I think it's overblown. And let me lay out the case for you, and then Dan can pick it apart. So, Baylor in Atlanta, it's basically a home game. Auburn will win that one. And then I can't remember who they play in between that, but then they have Florida at home. 2 first-year head coaches.
How could you not? They play Southern Mississippi. How dare you? So,
Sorry, Southern Miss.
there you go.
So then they play Florida at home. And then, oh my God, I'm going completely blank.
Vanderbilt.
Thank you. Vanderbilt, I think, also at home.
Yes.
Then October is hard. I'm not going to deny that. But if you really look at the granular aspects of it, you got Georgia on the road, you got Ole Miss on the road, you have LSU at home, and you have Tennessee on the road. We don't know who Tennessee's quarterback is. I don't even think Tennessee knows who their quarterback is, and we're 2 weeks into spring practice. Ole Miss is going to be a problem and Trinidad should still be playing. Like, I know the court case isn't technically
Hasn't
over,
decided yet.
I think he's in. I think they're trying to push back on it, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere with it. So that will be a tough one
as of now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Pete Golding is also a first-year head coach. Yeah, he had that little run in the college football playoff, but he had Charlie Weiss Jr. helping him. He doesn't have Charlie Weiss Jr. this year. And then LSU, they're pushing all of their chips into the table to win this year with Lane Kiffin. We also don't know if Sam Levitt is going to play. I think he did actually come out to practice this week, from what I've heard, but he's been injured. He's dealt with injuries his entire career. And that's the one home game. So that's the one I'm like, okay, like, we got a shot here.
Yeah.
And then Georgia is probably going to beat us by 2 touchdowns, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But then November is similarly easy to the first month of the schedule, with the season ending at Alabama. What does Alabama look like? Do they have a running game? Which, according to their spring game, they don't. They still don't have a running game. Who's their quarterback? Is Keelan Russell that dude, or does he end up struggling towards the latter half of his sophomore year or redshirt freshman year? Like, I don't think it's as hard as people are making it out to be. Now, does that mean we're going 10-2? No, that's pipe dream kind of things. But
so, what do you think their end of season record is going to be?
If gun to my head right now, I think 8-4.
Okay. DT, is 8-4 realistic for the Auburn Tigers this year? Yes, no, why?
I sent Shane a message. So
yes, I'm not dropping that one.
So the Baylor game, okay, I can give them Baylor.
Okay.
I can give them Southern Miss. Florida's a big old question mark, but it's two coaches that know each other because they just coached against each other in the American, with having John Summerall of Florida now, who was Tulane, and having Alex Golesh of Auburn, who was formerly South Florida. So that'll be interesting. Vanderbilt's going to be, who are they? Like Clark Lee, shout out to him, former Syracuse linebacker coach under Scott Schaefer. Scott Schaefer's coaching tree in 3 years at Syracuse is insane. The NFL guys that he had, almost everybody that was under him is still coaching. So, and Clark Lee just won the Coach of the Year award that I got to vote in last year. One of the few national coaches of the year award, and he got it during college football playoff national championship week. So shout out to Clark Lee. So I think that Vanderbilt game is going to be a tough game. That's a toss up to me. So I'll come back to it, but I'm going to say 3-0 before that game. At Tennessee, depends on what that looks like. I'm going to say I'll give it to Auburn. Georgia, I'll give to Georgia. So that's got me at what? 4-1. LSU 5-1. Ole Miss, I'll say 5-2 because Trinidad looks to be playing. Arkansas, I'll say 6-2.
That was the one I forgot.
And then at Mississippi State, I'll say 7-2. Samford, kidding, 8-2. And then at Alabama, depends on, like you said, running back, quarterback situation, all that. So let me just for argument's sake, say 8-3. And then I come back to that Vanderbilt game. So, yeah, I mean, I think 8-4 is doable if all the pieces, if guys stay healthy and the pieces match up right, I can see 8-4. I could see 9-3 if we're talking about Alex Golesh doing what I think he's going to do, which in my opinion, of the 4 American coaches, the American Conference coaches that are now coaching in the autonomy group, 3 in the SEC and 1 in the Big 12, I believe of those 4, and I said this months ago, I believe Alex Golesh is the one who will have the longest runway, and I think as of right now, he will have the most success. So I feel comfortable with 8-4.
You surprised you agreed with you, Shane?
No, Dan's smart.
I don't know when I've disagreed with him, and I will not give you Alex Golesh's number.
This is proof Golesh is going to need that protection order stat.
Listen, I'm telling you this right now. I did text him tonight, and I was like, I'm talking about you on the show. But so he does know that. By the way, shout out to Alex Golesh. Right before he left South Florida, he sent me a care package of some really awesome South Florida gear.
That's awesome.
So now I want my Auburn gear.
That'd be sick too. That'd be sick.
And we're switching to Nike.
So if I can talk now that I have you guys here, yes, I've been doing that a lot lately.
Listen, I put it to you like this: when my tongue gets all crazy and stuff, I go, "Thank God I'm not a broadcaster."
Yeah, exactly.
We're allowed to have 1 or 2 snafus. Yeah, I will say this really. I don't want to interrupt, but I want to say this really quick. I sneezed on the air twice in 9 years. In 9 years, twice. Now I sneeze on the air 4 times a year. and it's insane. And I try to like go to I try to go to commercial. I go to something else. I don't know what it is, but I sneeze on the air more. And I will say this because I know God is listening. Stop letting us sneeze when we drive. It is the most terrifying thing in the world.
It's so scary.
It is the most terrifying. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be fine or die. So like, it's one of those things where it's just not. It's like dating a Kardashian. One of two things is going to happen: either life will be good or you die. So
Literally, that's one of the things where like you try to keep your eyes open while you're doing it, and just. Or you just go full on, try to embrace it, and not crash.
Dating a Kardashian, you better keep your eyes open while you're there. So
yeah.
I mean, it's, very important. Maybe I would date like one of the Jenner girls. I don't know if I date a Kardashian. Maybe one of the Jenners. I don't know.
I'm happily married.
Yes,
I know you are.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
You know what I would love is when you said that if your wife just like poked her head out.
She's sitting in the room.
She's here?
Yeah.
What is your wife's first name?
It's Andrea. She can't hear you because of the
Andrea.
headphones.
She can't hear me?
No, the headsets.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
so now she knows she was just talking about her, but she has no idea about what.
You tell Andrea that I said that I'm so grateful that she loves you the way that she does, and that she treats you the way that she does, and that she is okay that she married a man who would leave her for Alex Golesh. That's all I'm saying.
I'd love to hear that.
Sorry, Thomas. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'd love to hear that. But I did want to ask you guys. I mean, Dan, we talked about this actually a little on your show, actually, with the executive order that came down that for 5 years. I know the NCAA is talking about just like adapting something similar to that too. What are your guys' thoughts on that? And like, what would be your ideal time frame for a college football player? Like 4 years flat, that 5 years plus a red shirt year. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
You want to go, Shane, and I'll go after.
Yeah, I can go first. I think like 5 to play 5 or 5 to play 4, like, and some combination, like you get one red shirt year and you get one free transfer. If you transfer again, you sit out a year just like you used to, and then back in the day, and you don't get extended. Like, we don't have a tight end who's playing for Miami who's been in college for 9 years. Like, that's ridiculous. And I know there's other instances of guys playing for 7, 8 years. It's like, at some point, you're hurting your product and hurting, like, the team is hurting itself because you're going and recruiting these high school kids, and then they see the guy who's 28 who's still on the team. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, y'all are family and close enough that like he gets to stay that long, but at the same time, it's like, I'm still competing against that guy. Why is he still here when he's a grown man and I'm an 18-year-old who is getting into a college weight room for the first time?
Yeah. I would say that if you get 5 years and you can play all 5, you just gained what no other college student athlete ever had on a normal basis. You now have 5 years to have a career instead of 4. That's incredible. So I think that that's great. I read the executive order on my show last Thursday. I read the whole thing on the air.
Nerd.
Maybe I just wanted people to know, because here's the thing. A lot of the media speaks for the president, no matter who the president is. So I read what he actually had in the executive order so that nobody could speak for him. And he's working to protect women's sports, Olympic sports, a lot of different things. He's trying to protect student athletes from agents. So I think that that's important too. So I would say that 5 years to play all 5, amazing. I love what he said in the executive order, which is the marrying of the old and the new. You used to have to sit out a year if you transferred. Now you don't have to sit out at all. With him taking the best of both worlds, he says, first time transfer, immediate play. I don't know what just happened. Okay, we're all here. So, but can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're like
I
going
don't know.
through a wave
Can you hear me?
of connection
Yeah, we got you.
disconnecting, but you're still good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know what happened. So, yeah. So I would say that I love hearing is happening right now. So like my internet is stable. I have no idea what's happening. So the Kardashians got really mad. So
They heard what you said.
They are
am
part
in
of
a
the
place
Illuminati, so
where
they
I
probably
think the
have that
marrying
kind
of the
power.
two is great. I think
You're good, Danny.
I will not say that word on the air. I will not do any of the signs. So, but they are on the $1 bill. Anywho, so there's this marrying of the old and the new that I like, which is you play immediately after 1 year, or I'm sorry, first year you can play immediately. Every year after that, you got to sit out. I agree with that wholeheartedly, and because it basically tells people you can't go to 5 places in 5 years, 4 places in 4 years. There was one kid that went to 11 schools in 5 years, which I don't even know how that's possible. So I would say marry the two. First time transfer, good to go. Every time after that, you sit out a year, which will hopefully put kids in a situation to compete, face adversity, learn responsibility, learn accountability, go to school, all the things that college is supposed to be, because college is a bridge between I live with my mom and my dad and I live on my own. College is a place where you get to feel the real world without being fully in it. And I am a firm believer that if you take college out of society, you take a child from home, you throw them in the real world, and they don't have the skills to deal with it because they need the bridge in between. So I think that protects the bridge. And yeah, so I'm okay with them getting an extra year to play, which is 5. There's a thing that if they go to a religious vocation or they have maternal leave, which guys still can't get pregnant. I hope people know that. But if you have maternal leave or I just want to be clear. So, it's not like Trinidad can apply for maternal leave, which maybe he did. But seeing Shane laugh and seeing Thomas just not allow himself to show his face right now. But I will say this. The maternal leave, the religious vocation, and military, all of that does not affect the eligibility. I agree with that. Now, if you have a redshirt year and you can play 5, then you'd be in school for 6 years, but you're only getting 5. So I don't know if I like that. But I do like the addition of a year, and I like the restrictions after you transfer the first time. And I think that that's important. And I hope you guys can be okay that I just brought some biology to the show today.
Yeah, I didn't know you majored in biology or minored in biology as well. No, I agree, man.
I think most of us do.
Yeah.
I think mostly every person with one of these things probably majors in biology a little bit. I can't get pregnant. If I could, I would have had so many babies by now. I mean, come on. Why shouldn't we have more?
I think we've gone off the rails there. We'll hold it on. I agree, man. I mean, we've seen, as much as I love, some of the play. I mean, Syracuse saw that with was it? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget his name.
With
his name.
David Reese.
Yeah, and I love David Reese, but like watching him at the pro day, like that was a grown man, like straight up, and for some kids, like Shane alluded to, like it's not necessarily fair to them to develop and go, pursue their careers and try to get in that position. So I think 5 years is kind of like the sweet spot. I don't know how I feel about like a redshirt year, either being a part of the 5 or added. I guess I don't like to see college athletes over, like, even 24 is kind of pushing it for me. You know what I mean?
24, 25 is like Chad Baker Mazara, like, go get a job.
Yeah. Yeah, like, literally.
Well, and like Dan mentioned, like the kid that played for 11 different schools in 5 years, Keyshawn Hall on Auburn's basketball team, played for 4 different schools in 4 different years.
Yeah.
And it's happening so much. Tyler Betsy, who was at Syracuse, he's at BYU now, and he had came in last year. I mean, there's no way you're getting an education because your credits don't all transfer.
No.
So if you go to school and you got 20 credits, you transfer year 1 to year 2, now you got 15. Then you take 30, so now you got 45. You transfer year 2 to year 3, now you got 37. So you got 37, you take another 20, you got 57. But then you transfer year 3 to year 4, and of the 57 credits, you need 80 to graduate, and now you got 42. They're never going to graduate.
Well, and let's be real too. As a student athlete, are you really taking more than 18 credit hours in a semester when it's your season?
Are you taking classes that are not hot yoga?
You said it, not me.
Oh, actually, HBO said it when they investigated a school, but
wait, what?
HBO released something about one of the schools in the ACC well before the NCAA did anything about it.
No kidding.
Oh, I think I know who it was.
And I got a phone call from an agent that told me about other stuff that was happening on campus, and that was coming from an agent's point of view, where he was like, they're saying that they're trying to keep us out of it, but he's like, they were trying to make the agents the problem, but then he was like saying they might have been asking us to come to campus. So yeah, there's a lot. If you find out some of the stuff that's out there and things that I have heard that people have no reason to lie to me about, because some of these things happened a long time ago, like it's wild that Jim Boeheim lost 101 wins with the things that I've heard about other schools.
Yeah,
Just
that's
do some
true.
research on Alabama.
What did you just say?
Just
Do some research on Alabama.
Yeah,
Or do some research. Or John Calipari, everywhere he goes, the school gets sanctioned and he makes more money at another school.
That's very true too.
But he's never gotten in trouble. Kelvin Sampson had a show cause penalty. There's never been a show cause penalty on John Calipari.
Some guys with names, man, it's just they don't even care. You know, they just want to keep that engine moving, which is unfortunate. They do it with programs too, like Alabama. I mean, how do you guys feel how that, like, with the way that college sports and athletics is getting now, like how do you guys feel eventually it's just going to be like a merger of like a giant league where it's like a semi-pro league kind of thing, and they kind of get rid of the multiple conferences and kind of go like one big smorgasbord of, you know, the power schools, and then kind of put the rest, like for example, like we put the top programs in the power 4 schools now, right? And now they move into one big program. Everybody else goes into like the new FBS, which would be like the FCS. Like, do you think that's a possibility with the way things have been going with private equity now getting involved in teams? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that's where we're unfortunately ultimately headed. The old morning show that I used to listen to called it the EEC, the Everybody Else Conference, that we are barreling down the tracks towards, where the guys at the top of the ACC, the Big 12, the SEC, and the Big 10 are all going to break off, form their own power conference, and everybody else is going to be left to figure it out for their own stakes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Dan, we've talked about that a little bit. What are your thoughts?
All of the predictions that I made in the last 3 to 5 years are coming true, and I didn't want to be right. Since COVID, I've been watching the SEC and what they're doing, and I've had conversations with people that are in the bowl system, in the CFP system, people that have been coaches, people that are coaches, and they've all agreed with me of what's coming. These were thoughts. I'm talking to people that are inside of this, sometimes sitting in a room of this, potentially. And, you know, my prediction that the SEC would break away and form its own league. And then when the Big Ten got the West Coast schools, I said, I think the Big Ten's trying to go with them. And then I said that the Big Ten and the SEC would try to take Clemson, Miami, Notre Dame, and Florida State. And if they did that, they would have every major player in there. So then people would call it, there's no way that they wouldn't call it the national champion. So then that provoked me to say there's going to be 3 tiers of Division One. Division 1A would be the new one. Division 1 AA would be the old FBS, and then Division 1 AAA would be the FCS. I have stated that I can see a world where they start breaking things down. I talked to Randy Etzel about this, that they could start essentially, and I got to give him credit for this, making a 24-team college football playoff, which I believe is going to happen. And I've heard from people that that's where it's leaning. So, and I spoke with Rich Clark, the executive director of the CFP, and we talked about this. And he told me it's 12, it's 14, or it's 24. I think the only reason why it's 12 this year is because they want more time just to figure it out. So I think they're going to go to 24. That's my opinion. And I've argued that 24 works with, there's one of 2 ways they're going to go. 24 works with all 10 FBS conferences with the addition of the PAC. It works that you take every conference champion. So that's 10. Then you have 14 at large, which doubles the at large pool that you have right now, which is 7. And if you break down the 10 winners plus the 14 at large, when you get to the last 2 or 3, you're kind of like, we don't even need these. So I think 24 is the sweet spot, but they could also take that 24, regionalize everything, put teams, schools in divisions, and then tell those divisions, whoever wins the division, like the NFL, you're automatically in, and then you bring in wild cards. What I don't see, the only thing that is a snag in every domino that I've seen fall from the predictions that I made 3, 4, 5 years ago is that I don't know why the ACC, the Big 12 would want it, the SEC, the Big 10, why anybody would want to give up the name of their conference and the control of their institutions. That's the only thing that I don't believe would happen. I don't see a world where the ACC is going to lose their name, lose their headquarters, and fire their entire staff just to join some big thing.
I have the answer to your question, Dan.
Go ahead. Money.
Yes, but no, they break away from the NCAA and form their own legal governing body, so that
which they already have.
Yeah,
you know what autonomy means? It means self-governing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I sat down, when that happened years ago, I sat down with then ACC Commissioner John Swofford on more than one occasion. And when I was with him in Brooklyn at the ACC tournament in the Barclays Center, I said, John, autonomy means self-governing. Power is a media term. Autonomy is a legislative term. That's a legal term you took. And you don't take terms just to be soft with it. They took the autonomy term for a purpose. It basically told the NCAA, we are on an island inside of what you are, but at any given time, we can shift out of it. And I asked him, is that on the table? And he said, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not that we haven't spoken about it, just not right now.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay. That's fascinating. So there is like an out for them to, I saw that. You caught yourself too, so I appreciate
Why
that.
was he going to drop the F-bomb? I don't know.
when you were talking about what they told the NCAA to do.
To go.
Themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this right now. I mean, the NCAA, they can't win a legal battle.
No.
They don't know their own guidelines. They don't know their own guidelines. Listen, all I'm saying is, can we resurrect Johnny Cochran so that they can win a case?
They need it, man.
Because when Johnny Cochran was around, if the glove don't fit, you must have quit. And then on top of that, remember this: when Johnny Cochran was alive, Diddy didn't go to jail. He was brought up on charges before, and Johnny Cochran made sure he didn't go. If Johnny Cochran was alive right now, ain't nobody going to jail.
I forgot about that. That's actually a good point. He is a hell of a lawyer. I'll say that much. Did you guys see that they finally conceded the obvious, which is high school athletes are able to now, have legal representation and agents and still remain eligible and keep their eligibility. Like, they just announced it, but
yeah.
I mean, we've known it for ever.
I don't like this. Like, I like reaching out to the high school athlete. I like reaching out to the parents or the coach and being like, can I have this kid on the show to talk about their recruitment? I don't want to like, or when you talk to a player for 4 years at Syracuse and you build a relationship and then they're getting ready for the draft and they go, yeah, just text my agent and let them know that you want to do an interview. I'm like, why don't you tell them? Like, you've known me this long. I'm not going to wait 3 months. Like, there was a kid, I won't say who it is, but he was a first round pick. And we had dinner before the draft. And he signed a bunch of footballs for me. And I said, hey, I'm going to give these away, not knowing where he was going to be picked. I'm like, he signed a bunch of footballs. And I said, hey, I'll give them away on the show. Appreciate you doing it. I kept like one for the studio or whatever. So he gets drafted, first round pick. I put out a picture that I'm going to bring these footballs out. His agent calls me up and she's like, where did you get those? Where did you get approval? What's going on? I said, way before he knew your name, I got these footballs. I'm not asking your approval. But see, it's like once an agent comes in, it gets psychotic.
Ruin everything.
It gets messy.
All I have to say, and Thomas knows how I feel about this, glorified middle people, if they didn't have a person that somebody wanted to talk to, they don't have a job. And when a coach wants to talk to a media person and middle person doesn't want to let it happen, when the coach walks to that person and goes, I would like to do an interview with you, right in front of that middle person, like,
it's got to be so satisfying.
Let's be real about this. Like, I had a coach do this last year. Walked up to me in practice, in front of the media, in front of the SID, put his arm around me and said, I want to be on your show. And then the SID goes, well, I'll figure out if I'm going to let that happen. I was like, I'm sorry, he didn't ask for your approval. So all I'm saying is I understand gatekeepers and why they're there, but sometimes gatekeepers get obsessed with power and they don't even bother telling the people that they're keeping the gate for who's even coming to the gate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I do for a living, DT?
Are you a gatekeeper?
No, I'm in sales.
Okay.
So I deal with them all the time.
Oh yeah,
every single day.
I go listen when I work in business and I work with all these businesses and build partnerships. I don't do the gatekeeper stuff. I call, and if I sit and I meet with someone, they're like, okay, well, thanks for meeting with me. I love it. I think I want to do it, but I have to talk to Cheryl and Stacy and Bob and Pete. And I go, why aren't these people sitting here right now?
Yeah.
Because I'm the business owner. When I have a building someday that's got 21 floors and I'm still the business owner, I'm still going to meet with people. Okay. No big head, no ego. You meet with people, you be real about it. If you're not the decision maker, don't talk to me. That's how I feel about this. I don't have time because if I'm sitting with you, I'm not sitting with somebody else. You're costing me time and money. So I will tell you, Shane, I am happy to call those people and cuss them out for you because you don't need to deal with that.
Yeah, they're just.
I would just like to point out one more thing about agents. Do you guys know where Cam Coleman's agent went to college?
I do not know.
The University of Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay. Yeah, there might have been some home brewing there. So I was at the Hula Bowl. Obviously, you guys know I was at the Hula Bowl, and there's some NFL coaches that were coaching there, and we went to the bar. I normally don't drink, but I made an exception because of who was at the table, and oh my Lord, do they hate agents? Like, so they're like the coaches were on one side with us, and then down the hall, like down the table were a few agents, and the coaches and the coaches' families were just openly bad mouthing the agents, like, and so everybody could hear. It was one of the more interesting things I've ever seen. Some big name coaches too. So I was like, I guess that everyone has the same opinion and approach, which is why we started doing consulting stuff to point people in the right direction. If you're listening to the show right now and you have a son or daughter student athlete that wants to have some consulting done, please make sure to look on the League Winners page. We have a form to fill out if that is something you guys want to do. Now, I mean, I can't, man, it's getting late. I want to talk so much longer, but I can't. I guess before we go, it's a question for both of you guys. Like, what is the most exciting storyline or thing you are looking to watch or piece of news? Like, what do you actually, you know what? I'm gonna open some can of worms. What do you guys thoughts on Diana Rossini scandal with her and Mike Vrabel? I know this isn't necessarily college football related, but it is very national, and she just resigned from the Athletic today, as per this recording. So I'm gonna we'll start with Shane because I think Dan's getting ready to write something. Shane, what are your thoughts on Diana Rossini and the news and everything else?
Wow, I was not prepared for that question.
I was gonna go a whole different way, and then I was like, you know what? Like, if I gotta go soon, I want to leave on a bomb note. So, let's make it interesting.
I think that this calls into question, and my favorite part of Twitter for like the last week has been the entire like Twitter mob just letting her absolutely have it, and all the jokes about her, how she got all of her scoops, and how many dicks she sucked to get all of her scoops. Like, it's been awesome to see on Twitter, and it's totally alleged. But
never been on a show in 22 years where somebody said what he just said. Never been on it. Hey, let me just say this real quick since I'm in my studio. The words, phrases, and actions of Shane Barrett are not the expressed written permission or anything connected to Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. It is to his own full discretion.
Yeah, go ahead and throw the league winners on there too, just to cover Thomas's own. But
yeah,
they're my own opinions.
The league
but
winners,
like,
I cannot believe. Listen, he didn't swear this whole time.
That's what he saved it for.
He just said that. I really want your wife to, switch off the earmuffs. Let her know what.
She's probably
did
asleep.
She hear you? Did she look at you when you said that?
No, I think she's asleep.
Okay.
I think she fell asleep.
Because I want to know how your wife. I want you to get off this call when you're done, and I want you to ask your wife, what do you think about what I just said? And I want you to send us what she said to you. Because what you just said, I'm a person that is not afraid to tell the truth. I love comedy. I love making people laugh. You put me on a stand-up world, let's go. Go back and roll back and watch my face when he said what he just said. Watch my face. I was like, I said, suck what?
Yeah. Also worth mentioning, we currently have the highest live viewer count that we've had in this show.
Of course we do. You want to know why? Because they just left Pornhub to hang out with Shane. That's why.
Jesus Christ.
So, Shane, if you'd like to kindly continue.
I don't even know where to go from that. I apologize if I crossed the line.
Said, and then you said the Twitterverse was getting after her. That's what you said.
Yeah, so the Twitterverse is making all kinds of jokes about what she's done to get scoops. But in all seriousness, like, it does call into question her credibility from this point going back for forever. And if you look back at, like, when she was covering the Titans when Vrabel was there as the head coach, like, it's very clear that Vrabel has been her source, or at least a source for her over the years. And now, like, we kind of get a little bit background of why. And I think the sad part of this story is, like, from what people have inferred what was going on, like, Diana Rossini's married. Mike Vrabel is married with 2 kids. Like, there are 2 families here who are getting just drugged through the mud. And it sucks for not only them, like Vrabel and Rossini, but it sucks, I think, even more for their family. Because they're having to deal with the repercussions of their loved ones' actions that they didn't deserve whatsoever.
No. I always feel bad for the family. Also, this is, I mean, cat's already out of the bag with this show, so I'm just going to say it. There's somebody that I know really close who actually saw Vrabel and Diana Rossini last year at the NFL Combine at a bar, very close with each other. And that was last year. But now the cat's out of the bag, I guess that, doesn't need to be private anymore. So Dan, what are your thoughts?
I want to throw up because
of what I said.
No, but I do want the record to show in a court of law that you use the word suck 3 times. So you use it in different contexts, but I heard you. So I don't even know what to say to you, Shane. No, but I will say that it makes me want to throw up. I'm going to tell you why. So I, as a married man years ago, was cheated on, and I found out. And it is honestly one of the most inhumane, disgusting, like, just, it's like it puts you in, like, I knew this girl for 7.5 years. When I found out she did it, I was like, I don't know where you're living, but it's not here. Like, it was one of the easiest decisions to make in my life. And, you know, I mean, I've had friends that have been cheated on and this and that, or they've cheated. And I'm very honest with them. I'm like, listen, I don't feel bad for you. Like, if she comes to you with a buzzsaw, I don't feel bad. I really don't. I hope you're safe, but I don't feel bad. I'm all about morals and values, and I can feel like underneath the headphones, my ears are red right now, because like something like this, if it's true, like, not only are you messing with 2 families, but their personal life is unfolding publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're never going to unsee this. The children are never going to not know this. Kids are going to come up to you at school and say things about your dad, say things about your mom. Like, I found out I was getting cheated on because I was at home and something popped up on a phone. That was between me and her. It's not between me and her and the billions of people that live on planet Earth. And so for me, I can honestly tell you, it is one of the sickest things that a human being can do. And I'm not saying that because it happened to me. I'm saying, like, I've told my friends before, and I'm serious. I said, I love my life. I could never cheat on someone because I drive off a cliff. Like, I don't know how people live with it, because it's as easy as doing this, going, hey, babe, you know what? It's not working out. I don't want to be with you anymore. You don't have to involve other people in your sin. You don't. But to everything that you guys talked about and everything Shane said, I have a very special document to share with you.
I played the 5th.
That is my very special document for each of you, because I cannot report. I can't say anything about what happened or didn't happen with them. I don't know those people. But all I can say is I am never on the side of the cheater. And it does. I mean, it genuinely I don't even know them. And it makes me sick to my stomach, because I think it's one of the things in life you cannot come back from. Like, couples argue, you fight, you have disagreements, you have moments of strife. She has baggage, you have baggage, you're working through problems. That's all stuff that happens in relationships. There's friction. But there's a reason why God said, hey, put these 10 things on a tablet. And one of them is do not commit adultery.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that anybody can say to me to make me go, oh yeah, I understand why you did it. So if this is the case, it's gross. Probably not the only case that it's happened, but if you don't get to where you are in life based on morals, values, and integrity, it will catch up with you. And if this is what's happened, it's unfortunate, but
Fitz hitting the Shane for both of them right now.
that's very true. And I just, I'm a big fan of him as a coach too. And so
I like Vrabel.
I'm just really, like, I defended Vrabel when he got fired from Tennessee. I'm just in a place right now where, honestly, and I know I've said it
So did
repeatedly,
Diana.
like, what'd you say?
I said, so did Diana.
Jesus.
All I was going to say is it's a very sick, it's just a sick thing. And again, you don't have to cheat on anybody. Have the decency to end the relationship instead of being a scumbag.
Yeah.
If that's what happened, But if it is what happened, like, listen, I mean, if it's what happened, I don't feel bad for anybody. I don't feel bad for them, but the families, like,
Yeah.
I just do, like, I mean, no one deserves to go through pain of finding out that your partner is not your partner, and to have to do it with the whole world watching. It's just sick, man. It's
Yeah.
sick.
It's the thing that's crazy to me is some of like the old stuff that's popped up. I don't know if you guys have seen it, of like Rossini talking about like how she refers to her husband and like wants to be referred as, and all this crazy stuff, which I had no idea about. And
the alleged Sean McVay story.
Yeah, I was just about to say that too.
What does she want to be referred to
Chili's, a MILF.
No way.
Yeah,
I didn't see that one.
She wanted her husband to call her that.
No.
Lord Jesus.
Yeah, she's crazy, man. Like some of the stuff that I've like seen pop up on the timeline, and that's why I had to ask. I've been seeing some craziness with that, and not only that, I feel like it's hurting like it's just another stigma for women journalists. Like, it makes me feel bad for people like Mackenzie that works for me and works for us, and she does things the right way, and now somebody going to question her integrity because she's there. You know what I mean? And she's a great person. So that stuff always stinks, is the stigma that follows with that. I'm also kind of confused by Vrabel. I mean, I know it's talking stigma was like it's just one of the guys, so nobody really cares that Vrabel did what he did, but like the dude had a wife and kids, and like I don't think his kids are that old. I think they're
it doesn't even matter. Like,
no, but I know, but I'm saying, like, how does nobody like connecting the dollar, like making him feel like a bad guy?
I need to pause the show and distract you all for like 2 seconds because I just realized the shirt that Dan has on.
What is it? I can't
Stark Industries.
I
stand by calling you a nerd earlier, but it is in fellow nerddom that I salute you.
Yeah, dude, he wears a freaking Marvel shirt like every show.
Listen, there is a reason why my goatee is taken care of. That's all I'm going to say. So,
you should see. Oh my gosh, what was it? The Venom. He has a bunch of sick Marvel shirts. Every time he's on the show, he has one on.
I have an entertainment show where we cover Marvel and all that, super powered pop, and I have a new Galactus shirt, and it's Galactus. It's 3 different like pictures of Galactus all together, and it says Eater of Worlds, and it's like sick. It's so cool. And I was gonna make a joke, but I'm not Shane, so
yeah,
I was about to make a joke too.
I think we're all thinking about the same joke.
I was gonna say something. We talked about 2 Eater of Worlds tonight. That's all I was gonna say, but...
Yeah, we were all gonna make the same joke.
Yeah. Listen, don't get me dirty because I'll make you laugh. But it's gonna be real. So, listen, we're a nighttime show. It's okay.
I just texted Thomas. It's late night with the league winners.
Yeah, the show name might have to change, and college football now.
I always wanted to be a late night talk show host so I could let out some of this comedy that people hear from me all the time off the air.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That gives me the idea. I think that's what I'm going to do, is have like the real show, the professional show in the morning, and then the late night BS with like you two and a couple other guys and gals, and just go completely off the rails. Would be fun.
It would be hard with the 3 of us.
That was
my sense of humor. Like I always say bus or stage. And what I mean by that with people is I say, here's the joke, like whatever, we laugh. And then I say to them, tour bus or stage. And then they tell me like, it's okay to say it in public or save it for when we're all after the show and we're just sitting on the tour bus. Because I tell people all the time, I go, whatever I say on stage, if you laugh, the tour bus is going to be like people peeing themselves. Like there's a different, and my closest of friends tell me this all the time. They go, it's not that we disagree with what you say. It's not that we won't sit in the front row and laugh, but you're the crazy one of all of us that will actually say this in public. They're like, I'm not going to say that because I was like, listen, don't lie to your wife. I know what makes you laugh. So like, I mean, because I tell them all this, they're like, I can't say that. My wife will hear me. And I was like, that's why Shane's wife is in a, they said, if we pan the camera right now, she is in a bulletproof safe house room with headphones on. We know that.
No, she's just wrapped up in her blankets asleep.
You can tell us whatever you
if
want to
she
tell
had
us.
heard me say what I said earlier, she would have been like, you're an idiot. Like, did you really just say that?
Listen, out of everything that's come out of my mouth, I can actually call my parents tomorrow and go, guess what was said on the show? And they'd be like, Daniel, why? And I'd be like, it wasn't me.
You're welcome.
For once.
Yeah, actually, I consider this. I try to be very calm on this show.
But he said it, man. Like he said ducking some sick. Like he said the words. Like he said the words, man.
I mean,
I got babies that listen to my show. I can't say those words in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know what the age range of the people listening to the show is.
I have a priest.
We've been at the highest live viewer count.
Listen, the priest of the church I go to, when I didn't know him, I went to him for confession, and he didn't say a word. Went to confession, did my confession, total priest, awesome. We walked to the door. He's looking out. I'm standing next to him. He's not looking at me. He goes, hey, just so you know, I know who you are. I follow your show. So I'm happy that tonight it wasn't my show, because I don't want no Father Zach phone calls about what was said here. I'd be like, Father Zach, you got to talk to Shane. I think he's Presbyterian. I don't know what he is, but
you wouldn't believe it if I told you.
What are you?
Southern Baptist.
Southern Baptist? What, you join the church that Golesh has down in Auburn? You know, that's what they say at the end. They go, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, War Eagle. They don't even say amen. So that's the crazy thing about this. Southern Baptist. Shane, where do you live?
I actually like Father, Son, Holy Spirit, War Eagle. You know, that's
right.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, War Eagle. Like, where do you live, Shane?
I'm in South Carolina.
You're in South Carolina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He moved. Yeah.
Because he's right on that line. He's in that place where they said they wanted to raise the Confederate flag at the banks because they wanted to show state spirit.
Wait,
that's
what?
That's the state you live in. Like, they said they wanted to show the Confederate flag at banks because it was a state's right to like show like state spirit or state whatever they called it.
Oh my God. I didn't know.
Southern Baptist. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Shane. I don't even know what to say. What would the Southern Baptist preacher say about what you said tonight?
He'd probably not be very happy with me.
Probably wouldn't. Shane's gonna go to church and be like, hey, and then they're gonna be like, not you, not today. They're not even going to accept. He's going to put his money in the thing, and they're going to take the money back. Be like, we don't want your hooker money. Take that money and get out of here. You got wet, dirty hooker G-string money. Take it with yourself and get out of here. Southern Baptist Shane. Hey, I can't even deal with you right now. I can't. This is crazy.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that either. That's
I can't. God. I'm Southern Baptist, he says.
I'm glad we got to catch up because this,
you know what?
Fun.
I hope you wade in the water tonight, Shane. I hope you do that for yourself.
Oh dang! Now that song's gonna be stuck in my head. I hate you.
I cannot wait to get on the air tomorrow morning.
Oh Lord, I'm gonna have to listen
because I'm gonna have all types of stuff going.
Oh man, you're gonna have to tag me in that. I have to hear that. But I gotta get out of here, guys. I love the conversation. It's been hilarious. I wish there was more time. We might have to change the show around a little bit. But before I get out of here, I want you guys to let everyone know where they can find you guys at. Before I can let them know.
They can find Shane on Pornhub.
Yeah, Shane. Find his X videos account handle.
Shane is on Pornhub.
No,
he's on dateyourmom.com.
No. No. You can find me on X at FFShaneB, and any of my articles will be on the league winners. There
Yeah.
should be 2 coming out this week if I actually get them done, and then 1 next week.
On the dark web, he's at Harry Beavers.
Oh, following Diana Rossini's OnlyFans page.
And by the way, Shane does like feet stuff, so feel free to send it to his
Oh my
account.
god! Imagine you just get an influx of feet pics.
I'm laughing so hard right now I
Oh
can't
my
breathe.
God.
So, but yeah, there you go.
And Dan, before we get you out of here, let me know where they can
Before
find
Dan
you.
gets us kicked off the internet.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong. I just responded. So what do they say? What do they say? Don't get mad at the person's response. Get mad at what started it. You don't get mad at the branch. You get mad at the trunk. So you can find Wake Up Call Monday through Friday. My Lord. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time on youtube.com and on facebook.com, both /Wake Up Call DT. And you can go to wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Facebook is at Wake Up Call DT. X is at Call DT. Instagram is at Wake Up Call _DT. If you forget it all, wakeupcalldt.com. We will be live tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, joined by a Southern Baptist choir.
Oh man, I appreciate you guys. We now know that Shane is the tree trunk that holds this holds the branches together. I appreciate you guys coming on.
He's the trunk of something, I'll tell you that much. So
Appreciate you guys coming on, and I'll catch you guys next week maybe. That'll be fun, right?
And now back to your normal Pornhub schedule.
I'll catch you guys later. Later, guys.
See ya.
That was Shane Barrett and Dan Tortora. Shane Barrett of the League Winners, of course. Dan Tortora of Wake Up Call. You can find him at Call DT on X/Twitter. You can find Shane at FFShaneB on X/Twitter. 2 fantastic guys. Got off the deep end a little bit in this episode. Might have to start an at-night version of this show in the studio, and then maybe have the live one broadcast in the morning. Morning time. We might start doing that. As you know, this is Thomas Christopher, aka Tommy CFB, on Twitter and X and Instagram. Appreciate everybody checking out tonight's show. It's been an entertaining one, to say the least. Highest live viewed show at this point. Appreciate everybody. Want to see some more comments, so please don't hesitate to leave comments. I know we've gotten likes. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Completely free to do so. I appreciate everybody who's been watching the show and sticking with us up to this point. And with that being said, we'll be back next week. I'll be at Delaware's spring game, so we'll have that update. Well, spring game. We'll talk to Dan again, and he'll probably talk about the Syracuse spring game. We're supposed to do that today, but we kind of ran into 2 guests at the same time, and I wanted to bring both those guys on. We haven't really riffed in a while. Miss Shane and Dan, shout out to those guys again. And then we have Brandyn and Mackenzie at the USF spring game on Sunday, and Brandyn will be at the Florida Atlantic one on Friday. So with that in mind, stay tuned for the next episode, and keep watching. I appreciate everybody for staying tuned. Until next time.